And pick any number of the things that Muslims are doing in the name of Islam. There's an entire state being created in the Middle East, which is propagating murder, rape, enslavement of non-Muslims. That's it, anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. There's a hell of a lot wrong with Islam today. I mean, it's not just today, there's a hell of a lot wrong with Islam for the last 1400 years.
Are you anti-Islam and or anti-migrant?
I'm not anti-immigration, no. I'm also not anti-Muslim. I have a problem with the ideology of Islam because it propagates and incites hatred against me. It has a view of me as a non-Muslim, as a kafar, and I will speak out against it.
Coming to you, Bilgin, that kind of rhetoric, does that make the situation in Europe better or worse? Because it occurs to me that what Tommy is doing is making the situation in Europe a lot more combustible than it has to be.
Well, absolutely. I think the interesting aspect of this Islamization discourse that right-wing populist movements right now are carrying forward in Europe is actually making the secular societies in Europe much more focused on religion than actually they should be as secular societies, right? So this kind of generalization that we just heard is a rhetoric that is now becoming rather possible to say in political discourse. But I think really we should not forget that after all, Europe and European countries are have secular orders where these kind of generalizations on religion just have no place, should not have place.
Alexander in The Hague, when you're out and about making your videos on YouTube, do you get a sense that makes you understand why organisations such as Pegida get traction with particularly, say, the younger generation in Europe who live in deprived, less well-off areas?
I guess there's a certain understanding there where I speak to a lot of different people that have a lot of different opinions, and a lot of people are fearful for what the Islamization, if you will, of the West will do for their safety. I also believe that, on the other hand, there are a lot of people that are also scared but more willing to inform themselves. And informing yourself sometimes also results in being fearful. But some people, they look at it from another angle. Also from my age range and my generation, where there's really no point in being divided on how we should treat each other. I think that if we listen, or at least I feel like a lot of people feel like if we listen to each other, if we have a civilized discussion about how we feel as opposed to what is right and wrong, a lot of people are willing to have that discussion. So I'm optimistic.
Tommy, you want to come in there?
Yeah, I'm not optimistic. I'd like to ask that lady what I've said that's factually incorrect, or if she's in support of punishment for apostasy, if she's in support of death for homosexuals, if she's in support of punishment for adultery. What is it that I oppose that she stands up for? I'd like to know what it is she stands up for, because or what I've said that's factually incorrect. Because she may not like hearing the truth, but the truth is still the truth.
Who's trying to introduce the death penalty for homosexuals in Germany or in the UK? Who's doing that?
Pardon, what did you say?
Who's advocating right now? Is there a movement that you see in the UK or in Germany that is trying to implement Sharia law, let's say?
Yeah.
Trying to
Whitechapel, Bradford.
Against homosexuals. Is there something
Birmingham.
Like that? What is Islamization?
Yes. Yes, there is Islamisation. In the UK, we have 85 operating Sharia law courts. 85. So yes, there is. There are many Muslims calling for Sharia across Europe.
Tommy, just to interrupt you for a second. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I've spent the past 3 months in Doha. Before that, I lived and worked in London for a quarter of a century, and up and down the UK. I have never, ever, ever seen Sharia law being applied by a legally constituted British court. That has never.
That's because it's not by a British court, is it?
Doesn't matter if it's a
Or a
legally
court of
constituted British
Muslims.
court. We have 85 Sharia court tribunals which are operating within our country, which are making decisions such as when a child gets to the age of 7, he's taken away from the custody of the mother and given to the father. The women are inheriting 50% less than the men. We have Sharia tribunals in our country. And when you're talking about what's going on across Europe, on New Year's Eve we had over 800 women who were sexually abused and assaulted in just one city. We've had people murdered and butchered by refugees in Paris. This lady says that the Pegida and groups like that are a danger to democracy. What democracy? No one's voted or asked if we want barbarians to come through our borders. No one's asked us. No one's asked the people of Europe. We don't want people coming into our country who wish to bring their backward way of life or their culture or their intolerance with them. And that's the reality of where we're at in Europe.
I'm sorry. I'd like to step in there.
No, don't.
Sort of generalizing the